started knitting when I was 13 years old. I got very little from my mother. Two things that she gave me were knitting and how to make brownies. When I was 13, she took me into the local knitting shop, and I was just amazed by all the beautiful colors. And I don't know if you've ever been into a yarn store, but the walls are just filled with every color of the rainbow, and it was vibrant and exciting and something that attracted me. And at that time, my mother was knitting a little bit, and all her friends were knitting. My grandmother, who came over from the old country, always was crocheting. So there was that in my home, but none of my other friends were doing it. So I bought some yarn. I mean, my mother bought me the yarn, and I took it home, and I took to it really easily. It just was something that I could do. I guess the reason I liked it was then and now it sort of takes me away from anything else. It's very meditative. It's really good feeling to be tactile, to touch the yarns, to move my fingers, to not get arthritis. And of course, I was very proud of everything that I made. I felt like this was my way of being creative. I started making scarves and mittens and socks and socks, argyle socks for my boyfriend. That was the hardest thing to do, and it's too complicated to even go into it, but it's difficult. And I made golf club covers for my father, who played golf maybe once in his life, and then I started making them for other people that he knew, and they were basically just like a tube sock. And I don't know, I just always knitted, and I got married, and I started making things for babies, and I just kept knitting. And through the women's movement, when it was not a thing to do, I kept knitting. And at that time I was knitting for bazaars and auctions, or places that, you know, were giving things away as prizes and raffles and things like that. And then eventually I moved to New England, and I had a little craft store with two other friends, and we sold knitting, supplies for all sorts of crafts, beads and pottery and woodworking tools and yarns that were really sold for weavers. And I started experimenting with those weaving yarns, and some of them were very fine, and I started making, it was the hippie era, and I started making very little sexy knits. I wouldn't call them sweaters, but they were knits. And so I was doing that and selling them as I was knitting while I was waiting for customers to come into the store, and I had kind of a stash, and then someone said, oh, you should go to New York and you should show them. So I went to New York, and I went to Barney's, and Barney's bought up things that I had and ordered more, and that was quite a coup for me. You know, I never thought it would be what I did in life, that it would be my career, but that's the way it's turned out.